Let's talk South Sydney Rabbitohs. So last year, 16th. Their win-loss record was 7 wins and 17 losses, minus 188. Their losses from last year, Tom Burgess, Damien Cook, Dean Hawkins, Tane Milne, Michael Cheekham, Leon Tahau, Lachlan Ilias, and Isaac Tupo Thompson. So their gains, Jamie Humphries, honestly, that bloke does not skip arm day at all this preseason. He is looking absolutely massive. Ewan Aitken, Lewis Dodd, Josh Schuster, and Jaden Sullivan. Given a couple of those boys, I think their last chance in the NRL. So whether that pays off or not, we will probably discuss a little bit further. Trav, talk to us. What's your first point, talking point when it comes to the Rabbitohs and their season ahead? What do you like to talk about?
Old is the new.
Similar to me.
Yeah. Oh, and we didn't talk about this until we haven't spoken for the last couple of days until 20 minutes ago.
Yes.
Basically, we jumped onto this podcast. You reminded me we're getting this podcast. You sent the link through, and off we went, and we said hello. And 3 minutes later, trying to sort out Jake and his rubbish technical issues, we still didn't get a chance to actually talk. So, it's funny that we've said that. But yeah, old is the new. I'll let you explain that then, Joel, as soon as we've got the same. Go.
No, it's your point. You take this one because I've got others written down, so I'm all good.
Yeah, so I've got a couple too, but old is the new, right? So we're welcoming the master coach in Bennett back. So that's basically what I'm trying to talk about. That Rabbitohs team is pretty similar to when he left. There's not a hell of a lot of change that have happened. Obviously, he's going to walk in and see that he doesn't have Damien Cook there anymore. But there's a couple of incumbents that are rated pretty highly over there. He's still got his Latrell. He's still got Cody Walker. He's still got his pack. He's still got most of his reasonably his wingers.
Adam Reynolds
Johnston,
too, he lost.
Johnston at the back. Reynolds left at the same time as he left, did he?
Yeah, he still had him for a bit.
So he doesn't have that as well. So yeah, old is the new again. Is where I'm going, and I think he's ready to take this team and improve. There's only improvement for that list. Let's hope that they can stay healthy because that definitely didn't help them last year. I think Wayne Bennett can make a hell of a lot of difference, and I'm pretty excited about what I could think of the Rabbitohs and what they can do this year.
Jake, comments on that?
Oh, in terms of that, yeah. Look, I think that the only way for them is up, really, and they don't have the pack shouldn't have done what they did last year, I think. But there were some issues, which kind of leads into my point. So I don't know if I should just go straight into it now or
go ahead.
Well, my sort of point was it felt like when
we're all about segues. We're all about segues.
Yeah. It leads into my point of can their hookers and also halves kind of take control of that team and take on those sort of big personalities in Latrell and in Cody that kind of, seem to, when Ilias was there, it kind of seemed like he didn't get a look in, he didn't really get to take control of that team as the halfback of the squad. And, I'm hoping that Lewis Dodd comes in and is able to sort of go no, you're the 5'8", I'm the half, that's my job. So you're going to, that type of thing and take control of the team. And I just hope that they can kind of gel. I want them to be able to gel together more than. I just don't think there was no coherent. Sorry, that's not the word I'm looking for. Yeah, the whole team didn't kind of gel again last year. So I think that's a big talking point. Is can the youth come in and what can they do to the veterans in the squad?
It's funny you mentioned that because the segues are beautiful so far, boys. Because for mine, and I've sort of touched on both of this with one of mine because. I feel like the Wayne effect, yes, we all know out there, everyone who follows the game, how good Wayne Bennett is. But I think we're also quickly forgetting just how bad the Rabbitohs got last year. They became an absolute basket case. And I don't think we've said that about the Rabbitohs since, unfortunately, their fans don't like talking about it when they were kicked out of the comp and those years coming back sort of thing. So it got really ugly. And there were so many personalities in that team that you've mentioned, Jake, that just didn't matter what anyone said. Burgess was basically kicked out of the club because he stood up for it. Now we're going to say, 12 months later, just because it's Wayne Bennett, they're going to come and completely change. I still have some question marks over South. I know a lot of people are really high on South, rightly so on paper, but then more I think about South and what's actually happened the last 12 months and some of the personalities that are still there. There is a lot of pressure on those personalities to get themselves right and not to just focus on Wayne Bennett to fix them. Not focus on Wayne Bennett and just hope that he can spread his magic dust on the club and everything goes back to normal, because I think they've changed in a way where it's going to need a little bit more than just Wayne Bennett. It needs these guys to swallow a bit of pride and actually go, you know what? I've stuffed up. I've probably been a big part of what's happened in the last 12 to 18 months. It's my time to fix this up, and I'll lead this from the front, get behind me, and actually do it the right way. And instead of going, all right, we've got Wayne, this fixes it all. Because if that's the way they're thinking, I don't think they'll improve anywhere near as much as people are saying.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, eh? Like, I sort of tend to disagree because some of the issues that you're talking about there are a lot of driven by the coach, right? So discipline is driven by the coach. And, of course, the players and the discipline is driven by the culture, which is driven a lot by the coach and the coaching staff and the club. And I think everything that Wayne Bennett stands for and Wayne Bennett has, just as his aura, right? Just as his just of what surrounds him is all about discipline, is all about control, is all about doing simple things. And so most of those things are going to come just for the fact that Bennett's there. So, like if you think about statistically where they were last year, they were the third worst team in terms of defense, 682 points conceded against. But I put that down to just piss poor coaching, which then and piss poor structure, which then led to the differential there was minus 188. So that's again also atrocious, but that came back on the back of the fact that they were the fourth worst team in terms of penalties conceded at 5.8 a game. They were the second worst team beside the Tigers in sin bin. So discipline and defense, statistically, they were atrocious. I just think Bennett fixes that. Just the fact that as soon as he walked in the door, I think that's just immediately fixed. That pulls these guys into line. I think the other side of that too is that Bennett's also the type of guy where he's bloody 80 years old almost. He's not going to take the shit. So if you're not going to turn up and do what he tells you to do, then get out of there. And he's happily to do that. And I think that's what he's going to. I think that's where he has to take the Rabbitohs. And I reckon that's probably what the club said to him when they signed him is, when you get here, this is you. This is your team. Do as you please, mate. You're the Messiah. You're our savior. Fix it. We'll take you and we'll back you. And off we go. I think they're also on the verge of having some really handy things. Like I think Latrell Mitchell is literally on his last legs, which I think pulls him into line. They've got one of the best centre wings to return, which is almost like a signing. In Campbell Graham to come back. Cam Murray missed a whole chunk of last year, and apparently he's going to be there for round one. So all the sort of the ducks are in the row for that. Now add in what the coach can do, and I think it's only onwards and beyond.
Well, I have to agree with you, Trav, to be honest with you. I think that Bennett comes in and he is going to be the fix of those things. And look, their last coach, Demetrio, I think that in the same sense that I said that Ilias did, I almost feel like he just didn't have the respect of the playing group. And I did watch an interview that Josh Mansour kind of said that like he was the type of person, and this isn't me saying this is what I saw, but they said he was the type of person who would like say he'd do something or say something was going to happen and then sort of just not follow through with that, which is just a terrible example for your team in general kind of thing, if that is what actually is the case. And I just don't think that he had the respect of the playing group from pretty much day dot when he walked in there. I don't think at any point did he ever kind of have, their trust and their respect that he's going to be able to do the best thing for them and get them into those high areas. And I think Bennett does. He has the track record. He can walk in and be like, last time I was here, I got you guys to a grand final. So, what are you going to do?
I think it's very valid. My only concern is Wayne's not on the field to stop the dummy spits from, I'll just go out and name them because we proudly say we don't mess around here on this podcast, Latrell Mitchell and Cody Walker. And I think they've impacted with this club is huge. Do not underestimate how big they are in terms of having these players follow them. If they're both on, they're almost unstoppable. They're almost one of the hardest teams to beat in the competition, if not the hardest team to beat. The problem is the last almost 2 years, they've very easily been put off their game, whether it's an opposition, whether it's a ref call, something like that. So, yep, very valid points regarding Wayne Bennett and stuff. Take that definitely on board. I'm just very concerned if they've both sat down in this off season. Hopefully they haven't gone, we are vitally important to this group. We don't have long to go in our careers, and especially in terms of Latrell just making sure he turns up and his mind's right. Because like what Trav said, this is probably his last chance. I know there'll be clubs out there that will continue to give him chances over the next couple of years, no doubt about it, if South were to ever get rid of him, whether they should or not, just the type of player he is, luckily. It's just for South and to achieve something special on paper, and this is the positive about South that we can quickly touch on, is that on paper, it's a hell of a team. Like, you look at it on paper and you're thinking, wow, like, I have a slight concern about their middles just because I know Totola's continually, his body's a bit off. So I looked, and that's the glaring missing piece for mine to be a real big top 4 challenger, in my opinion. But the rest of it, like that back line, the depth is ridiculous. Walker, if he can stay fit. Dodd, I got my question marks around Dodd as well, just because I heard reports last year he got dropped from the Super League. Like, if you're getting dropped from the Super League, I think that's great. So, but who knows? Wayne Bennett, once again, we've spoken about him a few times. And then obviously that hooker position. Cook was huge, very underrated performance last year, in my opinion. And they've obviously lost that. No doubt Mamazoulis can definitely play, and Humphries. Humphries is looking great. But can they fill that Cook void? Because let's face it, he's been sensational pretty much every year he's been at that club, and they don't have that anymore. They can't fall back on Damien Cook whenever the other big 3 at the time, or the other big 2, weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. So that's going to be huge in itself. But again, they're on paper, it should be a top 8 team.
I do agree. Yeah, the middles thing concerns me as well a little bit. I looked at it earlier and I was like, Cam Murray, he just seems to get injured every year, and he seems to just get out, and he's like their main man in that forward pack. Realistically, he's like another member of sort of, we all talk about how like 13 sort of part of the spine now at some point, and that's what he is to them. But yeah, he gets injured a fair bit. I hope that he doesn't this year, because he's too quality of a player to be sitting out, and I hate seeing, you know, your high quality players sit out. But other than that, I didn't really notice any high quality, like not high quality, sorry, but like forwards that kind of blew me away. So
that's interesting. So I actually think their pack is not too bad. Hey?
Oh, Jai Arrow, sorry, I forgot about
Jai Arrow is an Origin player. Kulamatungi is a gun. Davey Mawali's got improvement. I think Totola, Joel touched on, is underrated, but you're right, he is. But I think he's underrated. I think he's got that there. I think Tallis Duncan can come off the bench and he's going to be okay.
My boy.
So, like, I thought that was pretty harsh to rate that pack as concerns, but I mean, each to their own. But yeah, I think the issue there is the playmakers, right? So it is, and how they gel. And Joel, you've touched on that perfectly. How does Mamazoulis, and can he step up? I mean, the reason why they were okay with Cook and, you know, not so disappointed with Cook was because they had Mamazoulis sitting in the wings. Getting Jamie Humphries over from Manly was a really big signing. And there's talk about Jamie Humphries and how important he's going to be because of how Manly developed him in all the different positions. So all he really needs is just a spot and a run. Lewis Dodd, from what I've read, now this is just reading, and I've read lots, but apparently he got dropped not because of form. He got dropped for other reasons, a bit in terms of discipline and stuff. So apparently it's not because he's no good or any of that sort of stuff. I think it's more around the discipline stuff, which I think Bennett can draw him into line at. But you're right. To me, the biggest issue is the playmakers, the ball in hand players. I think that's why Jack White's going to have a big year this year and improve really heavily. And whilst he's going to be named in the centers, I think he's going to be very much a floater center type thing in terms of, so I think he's really important this year. But yeah, I'm really high on the Rabbitohs in terms of, to me, my prediction for them is to be the highest moving team out of any competition, out of anyone in the competition.
What about that one, Jake? Give us your realistic season expectations for the Rabbits?
Yeah, Trav actually sort of mentioned two forwards that I had forgotten. Well, I mentioned Jai, but like Kalamatangi I'd forgotten about and a few extras. But yeah, I'm going to say, I'm not going to give it away. I'll just say top 8 because I don't want to give it away for when we do the ladder predictor. But I'll definitely say they'll make the 8.
Oh yeah, I'll say there should be a back half of the 18. I'll sit with my expectations for the Rabbitohs. Just a little special shout out. Obviously, I know he had a very tough back end of the year last year. I forgot my words. It's been a big personal reasons why, but Mr. Tyrone Munro. So shout out to him. I hope he has a huge year this year. I'm really keen to watch him, watch how his year unfolds. Hopefully he stays fit because on the back of that back line, I think he could be racking up a lot of tries. Could be a big smoky for top try scorer of the year, in my opinion. He's a gazelle. He's very quick. Yeah, if they can fire, it's a huge. The big asterisk there is Latrell. If Latrell can stay fit and play a lot of games, we know how much he loves to use that back line, and that could be down Munro's alley every day of the week.